on, folks? Everything new under the sun. This is going to be an unbox of a Dakota lithium iron phosphate 10 amp hour 12 volt battery. So I'm going to do an unbox real quick just to see how it comes. I'm interested to know because I figured I'd go for Dakota Lithium. I saw lots of advertisements on Amazon for these, and kind of sounded to me more like a North American made battery, and I don't believe it is. In fact, I know it's not because it says made in China. I guess I thought it was American made because Dakota, but there you go. These are, in theory, maybe a little bit better quality than what I have in here. Now, what I have in here is, this is my Makita battery bank, kind of like the DeWalt battery bank that uses 18-volt batteries. I created this to accept Makita 18-volt batteries, and it still does, but I've since converted also to use 12-volt batteries, and basically it's a bank of lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are very, very long lasting. You're talking 2,000 cycles. I'll go over the specs during the build of this, but I wanted to unbox and show you what it looks like. And so it has these little tabs on it, and I have little blade connectors for these. This is 120 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate, and of course all these come with a BMS, which is nice. But these are going to be made up with my Makita batteries, which I already have in here. If we open up the lid here, and you can see all the batteries in here. These are Makita 6 amp hour batteries that I got off Amazon. Can't show you the side of it, the side of it, but I'll show you in comparison 6 amp hour versus a 10 amp hour Dakota lithium battery. I have all these in parallel. These are all 12 volt batteries and 6 amp hour, so 5 of them. I have 30 amp hours of power right here, 12 volt power, and so I'm adding another cool 10 to it, and I hope to kind of add on to this. I've got space for another 10 amp hour Dakota lithium there, and probably another Dakota lithium right there if I really squeeze it. I might be able to get one on this side over here as well. But for now, here is my 18 volt Makita battery, which I can hook this up if I need to and use Makita 18 volt batteries. I've got a little step down converter right there. I did another video where I installed this and made it run off 18 volt batteries. But I'm going to go ahead and get this guy plugged in parallel with the rest of these Makita batteries, and so I'll have 40 amp hours total in my Makita PowerBox. And so what I can do with this Makita PowerBox then is I can, let me tip it up here. So I've got a 12 volt socket there for 10 amps. I've got a USB 1 amp and 2.1 amp. I've got the on-off switch so I can actually shut these guys down. And I've got my 2 knobs so I can actually hook this up in parallel with my camper battery bank and charge it with solar. The beauty thing is it's all 12 volt. My 12 volt solar in my Airstream will charge this in parallel with my absorbed glass mat battery, my AGM battery. So it works out really nice, and of course the power charges this and discharges these batteries first, in theory, than does the lead battery rather that it's connected to. And this holds the overall voltage of the system a lot higher than would the AGM alone. So without further ado, I'll give you some more specs, but I'll talk as I'm kind of building the project. First things first, this ships from the company at 13.32 volts. So good voltage there. Could take a charge, but 13.3 is pretty good. I got some of the Miatis at 12.8 or something like that. Alright, specifications of this Dakota Lithium. So I was right. This is kind of supposed to be a battery that was, I guess, built in the USA. It says assembled in the USA, and I'll post an image of that. So I paid about $129 plus tax for a 10 amp hour. I paid about $80 to $90 for the 6 amp hour. So overall, this was a little bit cheaper per amp hour to get the slightly bigger unit. Again, you can see the size comparison. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding some double-sided foam sticky pads. One to build it up so that they're the same level on the bottom, because there's a couple of bumps on the bottom. And then 2 to hold the battery in place. So all the Makita, the 5 Makita batteries there, are all sitting on double-sided foam type tape, just to keep them from bumping around and moving when they're in the camper, or just being hauled about because I can take this anywhere. It's mobile. So the first thing I do is, of course, check the voltage. And in this case, I'm using dedicated wires, which I think I mentioned at the end. And then I'll go ahead and use some crimp connections, blade connections for the other two batteries. There's not a whole lot of amps coming out of the other two. It's not ideal to have different length wires because I am extending it for two of them, and the wires act like a resistor or add resistance at least to the line. But like I said, I'm not pulling a lot of amperage, and these are big capacity wires considering how much amperage is going to be going through them. These are 15 amp wires themselves. So all combined, there's lots of space for energy to go through there, all to the massive wires going to the nuts on the outside. So the specs of this particular Dakota Lithium, again, I was hoping I would get kind of a North American made, but I did look on the side of the battery and it does say made in China. Although, of course, in the image there you saw assembled in the USA in Seattle, Washington. So they boast us is 60 times or 60% lighter rather than sealed lead acid. 5 times longer. This is a 2,000 cycle charge cycle, and that's to 70 or 80%. It also includes a BMS battery management system, which I mentioned as well, which is key. So all the batteries, all the Miatis in there have their own BMSs, which is really nice. Means I won't have any trouble charging them. So I can apply basically 14.6 volts from the solar panel from a charge controller, and they will each take whatever they need to charge up to their full capacity. So they're automated. So this is a 10 amp hour battery. So for you get 2,000 cycles out of it, up to 80% capacity. So after 2,000 cycles, you're down to about 80% capacity left. So that's the technical value of it. The terminals on it are F2 style. If you're interested to know the style of it, because you can buy F2 connectors off Amazon. So I bought a pack of male and female F2 crimp connectors, which is really handy to have in your toolkit. And they do handle, I forget what it is, 10, 15, 20 amps. I think maybe even 20, 25 amps they allow. This battery, the Dakota Lithium itself, it is capable of 15 amp max continuous draw. The Miatis are capable of max 6 amp draw continuously. So you add all that together, and I can pull about 45 amps out of this bank all at once, which isn't too bad. You don't normally have such loads. I have a big lead acid battery in place to handle kind of the 100, 200 amp loads. When I use the big inverter. This will handle a 60 amp max 2-second pulse, but of course that coming through those wires, they wouldn't hold up long at that amperage. They're really only good for 20-25 amps. And the max discharge is 9.2 volts, and of course the BMS will handle that and cut itself off. You can charge this with a maximum of 10 amps. I can push about 15, maybe 20 amps into the batteries, and it's going into all of them and being shared by them, so no problem there. So it's a really good add-on, and the more I add, the more power I can push into them as well. These are good down to minus 20. Of course, with lithium iron phosphate or any lithium, you don't want to charge them below zero. You can use them, you can pull power from them, but you don't want to push power back into them below zero. It's not good for them. Alright, so there we have it. The 10 amp hour is plugged in parallel, just added a couple pigtails. There should be plenty of amperage allowance in these wires to pull full amperage. These are only 6 amp hours, and they will spike 20 amps, or they're only 6 amps rather, max, but they will spike to 20 for 3 seconds. But 6 amps is only coming out of these, so we don't need a big thick wires for these. This one, I forget, I probably will have told you before, but it'll spike a little. I think it'll go 20 amp continuous. So I needed 15 amp wires. I decided to use dedicated wires to go to the main bundle here, whereas 2 Miati batteries, 6 amp hour batteries, I just plugged in parallel. that should be fine. And what do we end up with? We have 13.4 volts, so I think the voltage is good. I double checked it as well, and I think we're good here. So that kind of sums it up. Now if I get another one, what I'll do is I'll put it in this side, and of course I still have room for my 18 volt batteries if I want to power it by that. I just have to disconnect some of these wires here. But I think this will last me a long time. I probably won't actually ever end up using the 18 volt, but in an emergency situation I could always plug it in, and it's dialed into 13.1 volts I think in the regulator there. So I have 40 amp hours now with all these batteries in parallel, and I could put another one there if I get the money or the time, or buy some more Makita batteries. I'm not sure. It would be nice to get another 10 amp hour Dakota Lithium to kind of balance out this pack, and then I would have 50 amp hours in total here, and of course 2,000 cycles available to me. So that about wraps it up. That's my Makita PowerBox, and so I do use this in my camper to basically double the amp hour rating I have in the camper, and I can charge it all by solar. They're all in parallel. They all got their own BMSs in there, so no trouble in terms of balancing. I don't have to worry about balancing. That's kind of the nice thing about it. Each one of the Miatis has a BMS, and of course the Dakota Lithium has a BMS in there as well. So they all kind of manage themselves, all done in parallel, and you're good to go. So I'll do a follow-up on this if I have any troubles with it, but so far it's been working flawlessly with these Miatis. And so we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you thought that was interesting, and we'll see you guys in the next video.